Thank you so much to all the leaders who have been watching our sessions continuously and have been supporting us thick and thin. Extremely grateful, for all the support that we have got. And today is a different kind of a session with a very different kind of a founder who comes with such a strong experience inside the industry and is an alumnus of a very, very prestigious institution, IIM Bangalore. But then he started something which actually solves a real problem. I have got Dayanand with me. And first of all, Dayanand, thank you so much for taking our time and joining us to share your experiences till now building BookMyPooja.online. We have heard a lot from the people around. It's solving genuine problem. It's solving, a lot of the things at their home. But the best part is that it's also keeping people close to their culture wherever they are. Thank you so much, Dayanand, for joining us.
Thank you, Rishikesh. Actually, great pleasure to be here on the podcast. First of all, this is the first of its kind that I'm doing any sort of a podcast, and don't quote me on anything, but really excited to share some parts of my journey and what religion spirituality has been for other people on this journey.
Are you a religious person?
Well, in the beginning, it's a very interesting question. Whenever you ask someone, are you religious? People get sort of defensive, or they say, I am religious or I'm not religious.
Yeah.
But if you look at the life cycle of a person, it changes course. So when you were young, at young age, your religiosity is defined by your parents and at family, how you get treated about certain gods or not. You don't follow or anything because you're born with a religion. You're not given that. So assuming that whatever is followed in our culture is given to you by your parents. In the Middle Ages, your religiosity sort of goes on to decline because you are pursuing your studies, your early careers, and everything. But as soon as life starts hitting you with its problems and sort of, as you say, life comes upon to you, then you start believing the divine nature of the God and everything. So it's not a one line answer for me as well personally. So I would say I'm a semi religious person. Now, interestingly, and increasingly believing more and more into the divine intervention of how life happens to individuals, societies, and nations, and even the world.
Right. Now, for every founder, who has built something impactful, we do ask this question is that when you go back, do you remember that moment when this idea struck you first? Would love to hear this story or situation which actually made you feel that something was broken or was difficult and you could solve this.
Right. Interestingly, when I had purchased a new apartment, that time, so I belong to a Maharashtrian culture. My wife belongs to a proper North Indian Hindi speaking belt sort of a person, and we have certain differences as part of what we followed in our own houses. So when it came to a point that we had to do a Griha Pravesh ritual, first of all, half the time we did not know what exactly goes into these rituals. And back in those days, we were working corporate. Both of us were busy, but the ritual has to be done because that's part of what we do. And being in Bangalore or even in other cities, how do you tackle this? I didn't know that there could be something easy to get it done. So naturally, we asked in our friends groups or WhatsApp and everything. I even Googled online, and I did get some calls from Just Dial here and there. But the whole process was so cumbersome. First of all, I did not know whether the priest on the other side, how experienced he is. Because as a ritual, you want to get the spiritual or the intangible benefit out of it. And would that be there guaranteed? Is that something I did not know firsthand? Finally, somehow we got that ritual done, but the entire process seemed very transactional. So it didn't feel very. So the memory of going through the hassle is more than actually participating in the ritual at that point in time. And that sort of gave me a clue that probably if I'm facing this problem, there might be similar people around me that might be facing similar problems as well. And that was the beginning of kind of looking around certain data points and certain heuristics around that.
Yeah. That it kind of reminds me of something like because I have a lot of friends, like, and including me, whenever there's a Griha Pravesh happening or, housewarming, what we call in English, they will call their mother back home and they will arrange the travel arrangements of that priest who will come from their home to say Bangalore to do this. So every house has got their own, one or two priests, like, who are always there with them. And now, I see they travel across, like wherever the family is, they will go there and all that.
Definitely.
But it's a big hassle. Like, so do you think that the entire priest system in India was connected to the entire lineage of that family? There used to be one or two people, their son then became the priest for that family, and all that. But with
Yeah.
Book My Puja, like, a person is kind of, first of all, I would like to understand how can people book, or how can people streamline their spiritual and religious ceremonies with the help of Book My Puja. And second is, what I want to understand is, um, does it also, does it help them to connect with that priest in ways in which they were kind of connecting with a lineage, priest, who
Yeah.
comes from their
Yeah.
family?
See, what you rightly pointed out is that priest as a profession has always been attached to that family.
Yeah.
So every priest in India has his own sort of families that conduct regular rituals, and that's how his profession sort of goes on as well. And the attachment and the faith or trust that, okay, he is the knowledgeable one and we should always go. But with the rise of nuclear families, migration, especially in towards larger cities, the priests are not migrating. Right.
Yes.
So how do you solve for this problem? While the experience people want to have is of the same
Yes.
stature, like can I call that priest who performs at my house and get that experience? But now that becomes expensive.
Yes.
Now your compromise, you want to weigh between the exact nature of experience of the priest versus the costs associated with it. And that is what we sort of plan to solve. So every priest that is onboarded on Book My Puja, or rather, I don't like to use the word onboarded because it feels like some sort of a gig model or something. We feel the priests are our partners in a way, but we verify their credentials. So verification comes in the form of where they have studied, what Ved Pathshalas they have studied from, how many years they have conducted rituals so far, and are there any references of other regarded priests and other families that they can provide of. All these factors go in to categorize priests in terms of what kind of rituals they can do and where we can allocate them in terms of our people's requirements that come up on the platform. And coming to the Book My Puja platform experience, there are already certain platforms like 99 Pandits or others. What they have solved for is access. I think if you just go there, I think you can simply request for a priest and some priest will call you. But again, verification, ensuring that the price match, this is a big problem. Pricing also is a big problem because there is no standard about the rituals costs as well. So again, the user has to go through the similar hassles. And therefore, when we looked at these problems at a minute level, what problems I personally face, and from where we jotted down these list of problems that A, how do I ensure that the priest is verified? B, how do I ensure that the price is sort of standardized? How do I ensure what puja items are required? Because that also takes a lot of time and energy for me. And is most of that being covered with priest carrying it himself to the ritual? Will he come on time? Will he arrive on time for the ritual? That's also a big thing because today people do not have a problem of booking online. That is pretty much solved by the Flipkarts and Amazons of the world, thankfully. But the question remains of whether the priest will come. And that's where the whole sort of brand building around Book My Puja, that you can trust the platform. So interestingly, we have not kept the choice of choosing the priest on the platform.
Yes.
The reason for that is we are again opening up one more vacuum for people to, one more decision fatigue that they have to go through. Rather than that, if we ensure that people can simply trust Book My Puja, whichever priest comes along is verified enough, is trustworthy enough, and follows through the same culture that they want to get it done through, I think that solves for the problem. The least of the hassles that we can carry for people, I think that works best. And that was the inception point from which we built it in a way. And that's what you can do. So you go through the platform, if you go through it today, then simply choose your culture, you can choose your location where we are servicing. and search for the puja that you want to perform, or you can speak to our puja seva coordinator, which are basically again a junior set of pandits and astrologers who actually guide on phone as to where the auspicious dates are and what's the booking process and post booking process, etc. And you then comfortably go ahead and book if you are, whenever you're convinced. That's the whole process. And post booking, you're immediately informed about the status of the puja, the assignment of the priest, that the priest is going to arrive on time, and all the notifications basically are provided to ensure that users are at peace, because the entire premise is that you want to have best of those experiences, both the booking experience, post booking experience, and also the actual experience of the puja.
Right. While you were telling this thing, I was thinking like, okay, since you belong to Maharashtra, so let's take one example, like and families will usually prefer a priest who speaks Marathi language, or who talks in Marathi, because that gives them a goody feeling
Yeah.
when somebody comes. So does your team or does your platform also takes into consideration the language, the kind of a background this family has, and all those things? And what are those parameters that you take into consideration?
Yeah, I think it's a very good point, because India is vast culturally. Even if we understand Hinduism as one across the entire spectrum, geographical spectrum, the cultural practices followed within that. So, one thing I would like to clarify is that the Vedic rituals, the procedures remain the same, even the mantras remain the same. But how you conduct those on ground, how you set up the puja sort of a decoration, what greetings are done initially, how the puja closes, that entire experience is very personal and very sort of geographical in nature. So if I'm a Maharashtrian, I definitely would prefer a Maharashtrian priest wherever I go. That's my first preference. Same goes with like any North Indian user would likely prefer that and not the South Indian sort of a priest, although the nature of rituals remains the same. Partly it's because the communication that happens between the priest and the user, so that they can understand each other. So while keeping that, the first parameter, as you asked, is always the cultural affinity. Which culture do you belong to? And that's what we ask on platform as well, and even on calls. That if you are like, if you follow sort of a Telugu culture or a Tamilian culture or Hindi or Marathi, Bengali, Odia, all sorts of priests that are available, we follow through that. The second is, of course, the location. Wherever we can service them, that's the only concern. So we currently service across almost 8 to 10 cities where the priests are available, and also e-poojas where people can get it done through our online platform. So these are the parameters that we ask, and that's the beginning of sort of consultation and exploration of what pujas they want to.
Right. And just I was thinking like, for because a lot of the people are kind of, marrying interstate or caste, and all those things are also happening a lot these days. What about those families where the husband is a Maharashtrian but the girl is a North Indian, let's suppose?
ये बहुत ही interesting question है, because I think as a platform mostly get these kind of inquiries, where and rightly so, because people are coming from different backgrounds and cultures. So they, I've had numerous cases which I have personally handled in the initial days where the bride is from Maharashtra and the groom is from Tamilian culture, completely different. So one thing that helps us is because we have a bunch of priests of all cultures, so that solves the problem. It completely depends on both of them actually, which culture to follow. So they tell us, okay, we want to do this part of a ritual in South Indian style and this part of a ritual in Maharashtrian style.
Yes.
So that's what we need to manage. At times, then we need to also sort of bring the priests on the same page that this is how it is supposed to happen. So please align between yourself as to how to get that done. But these are very interesting stories. So a lot of NRI couples that we see that they plan for their weddings back home here in Bangalore, any other cities. They inquire us about one being from North India, one being from southern part of India, and families are not as involved because mostly it is like love marriage or anything. So they only have to get it done, and therefore I think they lean on to the platform's capabilities to guide them through. Once they understand that we are able to guide them through with they match it back to what their families have told, and they sort of then get comfortable to get it done from Book My Puja as well. Yeah.
I feel you are also doing this, job of uniting the entire country, like in some way.
Yeah, I think there is always an audience sort of combining cultures and
Yeah.
making the India as it is, as it stands for, unity in diversity.
Now, we will also want to understand from you, since when you started this particular book, My Puja, what was the broader problem that you felt people face when they are arranging pujas and rituals? Like one or two you have already mentioned, but want to go deeper into this.
Yeah, I think the insight that I get from what we have been doing so far, especially in the early days, is that people have anxiety around conducting rituals in a way that, because rituals are basically an intangible work that is happening on the premise that the rituals will bring some sort of a peace, prosperity, or healing in a way, and people are anxious as to, first of all, what should be done, then who should I go to get it done, and the practicalities of it, like when it's to be done or how much will it cost. And all of these are some practical problems. So when you look at this side of the people's behavior, I understood that people are anxious because they wanted the right guidance. They don't, whether they know Book My Puja or any other individual priest, it doesn't matter. But they are looking for an assurance that they are in the right hands. And that's the point of customer obsession, as you would like to probably relate it to the business or the startup side of things, where customer obsession is about handling that anxiety, handling that requirement, and making them calmer, making them at peace, showing them that authentically we can conduct those rituals in a way that they expect the intended results would be. So if somebody has a marriage that is getting delayed from some astro platform or astrologer, they would have understood that they have some mangal dosh. But now, what about the remedies? Something has to be done. Otherwise, marriage would go on delayed indefinitely. So that's where pujas have to be done. Now, where do you go to conduct the pujas? That's where you go for a reliable sort of a place. This can be your household priest, or if you're not able to find someone, Book My Puja is there to help you out in these sort of uh, complicated situations where it is all in your head. Even for simpler cases like Griha Pravesha, you need the priest. But where do you lean to? Most of the times we keep on asking in WhatsApp groups and everything. But when you know that there is something reliable, you would go to. So it's all about making people comfortable, giving them the right guidance, and the choice becomes obvious then once you're there, giving them the right guidance.
Yes. And now we'll want to understand the journey of the platform. Like when you first started, what was the first version of the solution looked like? And also tell us what were those assumptions which didn't work out and kind of surprised you.
See, I'll tell you a very honest story now. When you're, I think most of us come from tech background. So we feel or we assume that once you build the platform, users will follow. And that's one of the most ridiculous assumptions to make. There are multiple platforms that every day multiple users or multiple startup founders are making. The question of user acquisition stays as it is when the platform is ready. And that's what exactly happened with me. When I think the early version of the platform was a simple WordPress website, because I just wanted to make it like a low code, no code platform and make it live. Thankfully, I knew a little more about rituals because of the earlier bringings and everything. It was a okay start in terms of putting out the information on the platform. But what happened was the users didn't come, and there was, I think, through an early SEO tactics, a couple of users we got, and we did conduct the pujas for them. But then there were a couple of months to 3 months we did not have any users, and then I started to understand why it's happening. So then I actually went on the ground. I started reaching out to people and networked with the communities which are there in Bangalore, and sort of started pushing out the information that there is a platform like this which can help you in conducting those rituals. So me being a Maharashtrian, the easiest catch for me was a Marathi community. So there are various groups of Marathi communities here in Bangalore. One of them being Marathi Connect, which I am deeply associated with. And that was the beginning of getting the early traction. So the way it works, the forum itself worked on referring users, and it fit with me very quickly because priest is always referred.
Yes.
पंडित जी हमेशा रेफर किए जाते हैं, पंडित जी कभी भी खुद को प्रमोट नहीं करते
नहीं
हैं, है ना? तो जब हम पूछते हैं कि हमें पंडित जी चाहिए तो कोई ना कोई बताता है,
हाँ।
तो ये पंडित जी कहाँ मिलेंगे? सो रेफरेबिलिटी is one of the topmost metric for us, and that's what we try to achieve. So any sort of marketing, any sort of direct marketing is not at all that's going to work for Book My Puja even in the longer run. How can we achieve referability either through users or like any other means is the whole question. So coming back to your question, so this was an early start. That was the insight that I got, that I need to be referable. And therefore, but the initial days were very messy because it was a transition from being a pure techie mindset to an actual on ground customer obsession mindset. So as Brian Chesky says, right, the Airbnb founder, that need to do things that don't scale.
Yes.
So ultimately focusing on the levers which work for consumer experience. First of all, gaining that trust about the platform, then actually delivering the value that you said, and probably going beyond that in the early stages for your early users. I think that's what mattered, and I enjoy doing that. Just giving them that extra printed paper of wishing you best for the puja and everything. It felt really good, and I think the users also appreciated that. And that's how the referability started within the communities, because when people conduct any ritual, they usually have guests. And when they see that, they sort of register the experience as well. That's how it's.
Super point. And that's a great learning for all the founders who are building up in the B2C space, is that they have to, kind of identify that direct marketing may not work out for a number of cases. Referability is so important. Also, do you remember the first successful customer story? The first customer for whom you did the ritual? We
Yeah,
would like you to explain the entire thing. Like,
I will. I remember. I think it was an experience that I cannot forget. I'm still in touch with the customer, and he knows me as well personally now. So I had just built the platform, and even the Razor Pay integration or the payment gateway integration was yet to happen, or it was taking some time. But at that point in time, some user tried to book, and I was like super happy, like, okay, some bookings are coming. So but the payment didn't go through. I'm like, shit, what can I do? And I called the customer saying that you tried to book, and how can I help you? So he said, yeah, we were trying to book, but something happened. I said, no worries, I'll give you a manual payment link. Please do that. And once they did that, based on whatever we had put on the package and everything, since it was first puja, we barely had like one or two priests who we had spoken to earlier that, okay, if something happens, please, some order comes, please go to the puja. And we contacted the priest. Luckily, he was available, and we had to convince in a way that, again, I mean, being a startup founder, being the first ever order, I didn't want to come across as, it's my first order, because the priest would not have trust on me as well. So told him how it works, because the premise was that they are not supposed to ask any amount from the customer, and that's the policy that we had kept. So all of that knowledge transfer or the SOP education had to be given to him for the first ever puja. Then I didn't know whether that will turn out to be okay or not. And at that time, we had the policy of sending the puja items from the brand side. And so I personally went to the market, collected all the items that were required in the quantity that were meant to be. I did not want to trust on the Dunzos and Rapidos of the world. So I took out my car. My wife also accompanied me, and we went to the customer's place. We told them that we are from Book My Puja, and here is your puja items. By that time, Panditji was also there, and he was, I think, setting up the whole thing. So then we candidly told him that, this is what we're building, and you're probably your first customer. So they actually got excited, and then we exchanged notes. And I think Bangalore is very super friendly in that manner. So they were happy. Then I guided the Panditji, and I left from there. So that was the whole incident. I can clearly remember now, and yeah, that was super fun. But that gave me an on ground understanding of what priests also go through, what customers kind of feel during that puja. There is one experience of what we have of our personal pujas, but also as a user, what customers or users would expect of the brand. Those were pretty clear learnings even in the first ever puja. So yeah, that was great.
Right. कभी ऐसा हुआ है कि पंडित जी went to the home and then you got a feedback कि यार मजा नहीं आया इनके रिचुअल में.
Usually it doesn't happen, but because of the strict SOP process that we have, and
Mm.
priests nowadays also are very professional,
हाँ.
getting professional. Because the thing is, I think we are all sort of mid 30s now, and any priest of our age is very well equipped with technology, understands their time schedule and everything, understands Bangalore traffic as well, because they're doing it day in day out. They're not old. Generally, we understand priest as an old fellow who probably doesn't know much about technology, which is true for the older sort of pundits. But the upcoming generation are pretty well aware of the expectations of priests, and they kind of make it a professional experience for them also. So mostly it doesn't happen as long as we ensure they understand the process. Like for example, not asking for additional money or dakshina during the puja, that can really ruin that experience. It has happened in one or two cases for us as well. But then we, because of the strict policy and the feedback that we have, we blacklist the priests also, because there may have been an error in judgment of how we have onboarded the priest. Because ultimately, people don't care of the brand; they care of what they're getting.
Yes.
They don't care whether it's coming from Book My Puja or it's an individual priest. What they want to know is my ritual getting done on time, correctly, and everything. So, and they will always measure against the promises that we have made on the platform, right? So, if we say they're going to come on time, you're not supposed to pay anything extra. They will not demand anything extra. That's what they will look out for, and any even 100 rupees here and there can make or break that experience. They may, and interestingly, what happens is any of these cases, because these are again subjective experiences, sometimes people sort of give away
Yes.
extra 500,000 rupees as dakshina, and we have no say in that process between users and the panditji. Whatever happens between them beyond that is up to them. So there are customers who willingly give that based on the experience, and there are customers who will really feel very bad even if a few bucks here and there go off. And it, because it's very subjective, the one thing remains common is that they do not say anything to panditji on face, right? You never say anything to panditji on face, and because platform is there, they have something to shout onto. And therefore, we do get, in the early days, we did get feedback about it. They asked for a few bucks more, and that was not a good thing, but we didn't want to say anything to Panditji. I said, we understand, right? And therefore, the SOP revision and sort of telling people, telling Pandits that, this is what the modern customer expects. Whatever we say, let's just follow that. Okay. And this has nothing to do with ritual. The mantras and everything is part of that other part. But even the transactional nature of this ritual has not really left. Even in tier 2, tier 3 cities, we always discuss these things beforehand with Panditji, right? And that's what it means.
So one thing is like ordering online. The other thing is that ordering online and the person enters your home and provides you the services. Like you have Urban Clap. Do you think Urban Company or Urban Clap kind of a model has actually helped Indian, kind of India market to start trusting people whom they are meeting for the first time, to let them enter into their homes, do the things. And this has also helped your business model in some ways?
Absolutely. I think it's all part of evolution. So I think if you compare Urban Company with Book My Puja, it's similar sort of a service where priest enters your house versus any other Urban Company service. Person enters your house and conducts that service for you for that specified time with the certain, the part of evolution is manifold actually. So we are just sort of using that behavior for religious rituals, such as, booking online. Like I said, Amazons and Flipkarts of the world have set that behavior of a decade long sort of investment in the country. And Urban Company has probably done the similar way, where the personalized experiences at home are also normalized. And therefore, it's a natural extension of combining that together to a religious sort of services that we provide. Yeah.
And when we talk about India, it's considered to be a trust deficit country. Like, people want to prefer COD, give me something in my hand and then I will. So do you also see customers coming to your platform and also telling that, first of all, let us conduct the puja and then we will transfer the amount or something?
Yes, they do. They sort of, because that is what we have been grown up with in this kind of a service. But thankfully, the segment that sort of opts for our services, they understand that as long as the brand is trustworthy, they have a credible presence over internet, they have seen the reviews, they have watched the feedback everywhere, they would have made up their mind before they inquire about it. A lot of customer points we would have taken care, and therefore the trust deficit is what we make up for through all these activities. So uh, once they understand that it can be trusted upon, they sort of give away. And on platform we have kept an option for partial payment precisely for that, so that they can book it with half the payment, and later after the puja they can do the remaining payment once the ritual is over. And coming to the trust part again, so trust is again pre-booking, but post booking as well, the trust part has to be followed. So I think, like I said, we could have built a marketplace where we simply connect priests with users, and they can take decisions based on their own judgments, and that would have been the easier job for us. We are not building a marketplace. I think we believe we believe the correctness of everything is more important than the speed of how we want to grow. And therefore, building for the post booking experience also is very important. Therefore, the hundreds and thousands of certified priests that we have is part of that trust building process. Giving all the information on the platform is part of that trust building process. Sharing all the information on the calls by the associates is also a part of that trust building process. So all those things matter with respect to trust.
Yes. Then, do you also see, kind of say the first time the family or the person connected with that priest through Book My Puja, and then you found out is that, since the priest was very good, they have directly started approaching the priest and, kind of not using the platform. So I do understand that there is an incentive for the priest to be on the platform because it gives him consistent, kind of business or something, won't say business in this context, but yes, customers. But do you see such things also happening, like direct connections?
Yes. So basically, in any service model, even in urban company, you would expect people asking I think early days, it would have happened more where people would have directly connected with the service provider and then continue the transaction with them. But the segment that we cater to prefers convenience over the hassles. So if the same user has to go back to that priest again, he is likely to face all the same problems that initially through which we sort of conceive the platform, right? Whether he will actually turn up, because if he's coming up to me at a slightly probably lower dakshina charges, he might as well cancel my puja and go somewhere else, and therefore leaving my ritual in the middle. And will most of the times priests are busy in conducting pujas also. So how often are you going to call the priest and expect that they will call you back? Even if they call you back, you might be busy, and therefore this sort of a segment, which sort of is okay to sort of pay a slight premium over for that convenience, that is going to remain. And for that matter, we have seen that in our data as well, that our repeats, like absolute repeats as well as the referral repeats, as I said, the referability is the top metric for us. The referral repeats are amazing. So even if one customer sort of does not follow through and does that disintermediation with the priest, there are 10 other users who have been referred in that process. And therefore, it makes up for all the hassle that happened.
Yes. Do you also see, like, whenever a priest goes to the home, like you see grandfathers joining on video calls and all those things also happening? Like,
Yeah, definitely. So we have a platform where the family members can join from anywhere in the world in terms of the e-pujas that we conduct. Interestingly, I mean, since you mentioned grandfather, there was an inquiry that came to us regarding Mahamrityunjay Jap for a grandfather who the family was residing in the States, in the USA, and they inquired whether we can conduct a ritual for them. So we did that, and I can show you the screenshot or the WhatsApp chat still, that they said the puja was conducted very well, and you're already seeing the positive results on his health. And that's one of the best things that we could have asked for, where the trust is not just placed by the user from sitting across the world on the other end, but it has been fulfilled, and it is sort of showing the intangible results that the user expects. I mean, what more can a platform expect out of their users? And that's one of the most fulfilling things that you could have asked for.
Yes. And which are the cities where people can avail the services of Book My Puja?
Right now, we're present in Bangalore, Mumbai, Pune, Delhi, Chennai, Hyderabad. Recently, we opened up Indore as well. So these are the places, and not just the cities, but the cultures also are available. So if you want a Tamil priest in Delhi, that's possible. So the metrics of language and location is fulfilled from us.
Yes. And also want to understand from you, like, so how do you personally see this relationship between tradition and technology, and whether technology strengthens access to traditions or it kind of creates new challenges? And how do you try to balance both respectfully?
I think it's one of the most, we always try to put technology against the service in every frame. But as you would have noticed in every area, every industry, or every service spaces, I think technology is more used to remove frictions and not meaning, right? When you keep the meaning and essence the same in terms of how you build it, and only use technology meaningfully to remove those friction points which are present because of whatever reasons, because of urbanization, migration, or inaccessibility. That is where technology is essentially useful. And that's what we are doing. So for us, technology is only applicable. So we internally, we have a policy: apply technology only if it makes sense. Because in religion space, people have very different behavior. The same user who would use chat gpt for anything and everything in their life would expect a very different thing when it comes to conducting religious rituals. So therefore, if we put too much technology in it without thinking about the user experience and the behavior and the expectation, that's going to be the break point. It will not work. But if we only use it for the very, very important points where it can remove those friction points, I think that helps, and that's what we have done. So any technology that you see outside for users, or even internally, we have a lot of technology in place for priests as well as the internal teams to sort of help users at the earliest with the right information and sort of authentically. And that's what we built.
And does Book My Puja also help in providing the puja materials also? I think yes, right? You have already mentioned that. Puja materials at home.
Puja material. So, as part of the business verticals, it's not a separate vertical of giving puja items at certain price, but it is part of the package. So, it goes out to them. It is not individual sales as of now. We will soon enter into that, but not immediately.
And what are the new things that are going to come in the platform in the coming 1 or 2 years?
Yeah. I think so far what we have done is that we have consciously chosen the perfection of user experience, perfection of user expectations, and delivering those. Even when they came at the cost of slower growth, it helped us get the truer path along the way. So that education, that giving that education to customers patiently has sort of given us the confidence of now how can we reach out to more and more users. And more importantly, this platform would not exist without priests. As you would have seen, the priests in India, you might have heard the news during one of the political campaigns that Arvind Kejriwal had opened up some stipend for priests.
Yes.
During Delhi elections. And people obviously thought that it's a political thing, and it was to an extent. But if you look deeper, and if you ask me, being from the same industry, it is kind of true. 90% of the priests are very unorganized. It is a respectable profession. Panditjis have a lot of respect, but that respect doesn't necessarily translate into the
Money.
stable income, or the growth in the income. Even the transparency in payouts is something not there. And have we ever thought of priests as the unorganized sector of the society? We have not. And therefore, even the simplest problem of can they be financially included somewhere? Financial inclusion of priests is a major problem because I mean, we personally talk to them. They do not get as many organized financial, facilities as much as the other segments of the society would get. So, what can we do for priests is a problem statement that we are also tackling with, and that is one of the roadmaps. Yes, for them. I mean, we are partly doing that through giving them as much pujas to be conducted from the platform point of view. But there are certain projects in the offing where we intend to do that for the larger priest audience in the country. Yeah, that's what is in pipeline right now.
And what proportion of priests that you are seeing are like doing it full time?
See, India has roughly around 3 million or 30 lakh priests, which are fully like full time practicing professional priesthood sort of a profession. Part of that is working at a temple where they are employed by a temple trust or something. And there are some portion which are individual priests who conduct it within the cities or towns. So all mix of that is 3 lakh, 30 lakh, sorry, is what the chunk of priests is, which is a sizable number.
And do you also see people taking it up part time?
Yes, there are part-time priests, but those go for a simpler pujas. Like let's say, I have even any friends of us would conduct a Satyanarayan puja. It's broadly reciting the story in a proper way. So those sort of simpler pujas the part-time priests can handle. But there are critical pujas where the chantings and everything have to be as per Vedic standards, where the full-time priest is always, and of course their availability and everything is a question when it comes to part-time gig.
And now at last, we'd like to, kind of hear from you that how has this journey changed you as a person?
Okay. For that, we need to understand what I was in the beginning. Before Book My Puja, I've spent around 14 to 15 years in the corporate, working in the similar tech backgrounds like, IT consulting, or I've worked in B2B SaaS, retail. I've had the necessary, I've been fortunate enough to get an MBA from IIM Bangalore and worked internationally as well on different projects. But coming to that, what all of these experiences have taught me is how do you look at user experience as on ground, and basically translating any insight you capture for that user's behavior to any industry, right? Even for a lingerie sort of a customer, that is an intimate, or that is sort of a personally vulnerable sort of a spot where you have to take decisions based on those delicate decision pointers. Now translate that to pujas. It is not very intuitive, but the fundamentals remain the same. It's basically you are still vulnerable. You want to have that divine support. You want to lean on to somebody who is trustworthy, and you want to get the benefit out of that ritual and move on with life with a better sense of progress, prosperity, or healing sort of a nature. That sort of, so that reflection is consistent with me. So any use case that I see is basically translating user behavior into the ground reality is what I would like to say. So that is a key reflection on my part.
Yes.
So one more thing I wanted to share. We talked about our first ever puja, and that is one incident that I will never forget. There was one more very unique incident, and luckily, for whatever reasons, I had to take that call or message from the user. It's basically I got a call saying that we want to conduct a Sundarkand part at our place, and I'm like, okay, we can do that. So where are you calling from? And guess what the user said? They said I'm calling from Pakistan. Okay, and I was a little sort of curious, and it turned out it was a Pakistani Hindu family, and they wanted to conduct the Sundarkand part during the Hanuman Jayanti, or I think Ram Navami or something. And that stayed with me. That was so humbling experience that the platform organically goes beyond the boundaries and even helps the Pakistani Hindus in a way that nothing more than that we could have expected out of the platform. So that is one experience I wanted to share with you.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
But were you able to, find out a priest for him?
No, that was an online puja that they wanted.
Okay, that was an online puja.
Yeah. So we have the online platform, so we kind of arranged for everything. And obviously, you could see that rating on our Google reviews as well. That has come through. So, yeah, that was a great experience for me to go through.
Thanks so much, Dayanand. Very insightful conversation, and we touched upon so many pointers, which are so much interesting, and especially the way your life has spanned out. Being into IT consulting, being a brand manager for like 14, 15 years, and then getting into such kind of a domain and doing such an impactful job which kind of crosses boundaries, unites the country, keeps them closer to their culture, and helps so many people who really want to kind of do pujas at their home, but somewhere, they're not able to find out the right platform. So to all our audience who are listening right now, go on bookmypooja.online, see what is out there. And if you are in a kind of a, catch 22 condition where you feel that there's no priest around me, whom should I call? You should book a priest from bookmypooja.online. And thank you so much, Dayanand, for joining us. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, Rishikesh, for inviting me. It was great to share all these stories and wonderful conversation to have. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dayanand.